It is. It
video,
is
watch it.
live.
Watch
Watching
it.
Free Minds. Free Minds live.
Welcome.
I'm great at sentences. That makes sense.
Sense.
You saw the pun I was
Sentence
going
sense?
for.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hey, we're here on Free Minds episode season 212. That's how you say
Season
things.
2, episode 13.
Oh, is it 13?
I think it's 13. Lucky number 13.
Oh crap! It's 13. Okay.
It's 13, yeah.
Episode 13,
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna do more than 13 episodes this season.
We
everyone.
are.
Just a heads up there.
Yeah, for once.
Maybe 15 or 16 episodes. We'll see. But yeah, this is season 2, episode 13. You have myself, Trey Jackson.
John's back.
John's back. Quick updates. The book Evergreen, We're Not the Mask We Wear, We're the Light That Shines Through, by myself, is on Amazon. Just search Evergreen Trey Jackson. You can find it that way. We're still doing the Psychic Fair at the beginning of every month. It's at Energy Yoga Studio. It's on the first Saturday and Sunday of each month from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's, I guess, off Cheshire Bridge Road.
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta, Georgia. You can find it by literally just typing AtlantaPsychicFair.com. And you don't have to get tickets ahead of time. You can just do a walk-in. The readings are $20 for 15 minutes, and it's $35 for 2 readings that are 20 minutes. You have astrology chart readers, intuitive coaches, palm readers, lots of different stuff there. So if you want to drop by, those are usually a good time. You can also book a session with me on thealchemistcompass.com. And I think book 2 stuff, no updates there, I think.
No updates. Well, if you've read the first one, a reminder, please leave a review on Amazon.
Reviews are nice. I mean, podcast reviews are nice too. If you like this podcast, you can review it on the iTunes. I don't think you can review it on YouTube. I don't think that's the thing. But you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search free-minds on YouTube. Free-minds Trey Jackson on YouTube should get you to our channel. Apparently, you have to have 100 subscribers to get your own link.
Yeah.
So help us get
Help
there.
us out there, please.
And we are also on Patreon. If you get value out of this podcast and you want to donate value back, we're totally open to it. Just search free-minds on Patreon, and you will find our page.
Good stuff.
I think that's it. Today, our guest is
Jeen Rooks.
Jeen Rooks. Are you a rookie?
Or I guess my specific title would be Dr. Jeen Rooks, LMT.
Ooh,
Okay.
Licensed massage therapist.
Yes.
Are you an RMT too? Reiki Master Trainer.
Oh, no. You
It's
saw
cool.
the blank stare.
Yeah. I see RMT on a lot of license plates, and I'm like, oh, University just reminded me of that. But yeah, I noticed stuff. Cool. You have your own practice and everything.
I do.
Okie dokie. Before we jump into any of that, usually we like to start with a video, just to kind of set the tone, whatever you want to call it. But it kind of just activates our emotional body and brings us into the present moment and gives us the feels, so to speak.
I'm a huge fan of Alan Watts.
Oh yeah, he's the bomb.
Yes.
Okay.
He's made quite a few appearances.
Oh yeah, he has so many videos.
Now, why talk about this? Is it interesting? Is it important? For the human being to realize that in some sense of the word, whatever it means, he is God or one with God. A lot of people understand it. But so what? Well, the importance of it is this: that to know that you are God is another way of saying that you feel completely with this universe. You feel profoundly rooted in it and connected with it. You feel, in other words, that the whole energy which expresses itself in the galaxies is intimate. It is not something to which you are a stranger, but it is that with which you, whatever that is, are intimately bound up. That in your seeing, your hearing, your talking, your thinking, your moving, you express that which it is which moves the sun and other stars. And if you don't know that, if you don't feel that, well, naturally you feel alien, you feel a stranger in the world. And if you feel a stranger, you feel hostile. And therefore, you start to bulldoze things about, to beat it up, and to try and make the world submit to your will, and you become a real troublemaker. So I feel also one reason why you become hostile is that feeling that you were just brought into this place. That your father and mother went up to some monkey business that they probably shouldn't have done, or it was bad rubber goods, and as a result of this, here you are, and you didn't ask to be here. Well, you always feel you can turn around and blame them. You can blame somebody. You can blame the government. You can blame the rascals. You can blame the cheaters. Always supposing you yourself aren't a rascal, which is long odds. You always can blame someone and say, I didn't ask for it. Take it away. And yet, very few people are all too ready to take it away. And if you don't say take it away, what are you going to do? You've really got to assume responsibility for it. You've got to say yes to what happens.
We have to wake up. So I mean that kind of it there's a lot in that video, but I mean a lot of it is just I used to feel kind of alien in this world when I was constantly trying to fight it and I didn't know why I was upset, and I was doing something that wasn't in alignment with who I was because I didn't really know who I was. And some days I still don't know who I am. Like we wake up, upset, and we don't know why we're upset, and it's just kind of like a constant roller coaster that life is sometimes. But you can start to at least say yes to it, and not always passing the blame on to ancestors or parents or whoever it is, because there's, like you said, there's always somebody you can blame, or you can start to take responsibility for it. Like, I am here. This is my life. I feel like I do have something to do here. So how do I start to figure out, what that is, and how can I make this meaningful in my time here? Because it is short, and rather than, be upset and, go into the category of bulldozing things around or feeling depressed and stuck and not moving, how do we start to find our purpose and our passion and something that is really in alignment with who we are, which is really just saying, no, how do we find out who we are? Because if we don't know who we are, we can't really do anything. I think that's kind of step one, and why we have people on the podcast is to kind of share that journey of into the self, into who you are, and then along that journey of finding yourself, how you found yourself doing whatever it is you're doing now that feels in alignment with your heart and who you are as a person. And some people go back all the way to their childhood, some people go back to whatever's relevant to them, but we just like to hear the story and the journey, and we think it's really important to share this with the listeners and even just us, because that's what makes this real and helpful, is the human connection aspect of it. The other people are doing this, the other people are figuring this out. Maybe we can do it too.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can dive in wherever you want to dive in. Like I said, some people start all over the map on this kind of conversation.
I just recently had to pick apart a lot of this stuff, and I'm trying not to sigh into the mic.
Oh, you can sigh into the mic. That's human, right? Oh.
Oh God. But yeah, I think that my whole process has started from an interest in humanity itself, and then with a little bit wrapped into it of ego and control, and then going back into a more what would be the word? I'm trying to get my words together. It's like being a spectator, being active to being a spectator.
Right.
Like when I first started my journey, it was more of, I didn't really enjoy humans. Didn't like being around people.
Yep.
I feel like looking back on it now, it was more so the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I was really scared of being judged, didn't want to be judged. And the fact that you really don't know what people are thinking about you and their perspective on you and how you're perceived, it still to this day sometimes brings me anxiety because I never have any desire to be malicious or hurtful. Right. But again, that goes into that control aspect. Mm-hmm. And when I moved from spectator to being active, it became a position of control where at first I went into kinesiology because I wanted to observe humans. I went from wanting to be a vet, realizing, like I told you earlier, I'm allergic to dander. I thought I was going to grow out of it. Never happened. So I ended up having to change my major. And also at that time, my father was ill. He got cancer when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And then he came out of remission once I was in my sophomore year of college, I think, at Auburn. And I feel like I just kind of spiraled into this thing of, oh my gosh, I can lose people that I love. Mm. And I got so protective. Like I would call my mom and say, you're not allowed to be on ladders.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Like I just went to this whole different side of the spectrum. And then I was 19. So like, you don't really know a lot at that age. And, well,
you think we do.
At any age, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still profess that I absolutely know nothing at 33 either. But once I moved into more of a perspective of watching again and observing, I realized that my life took a turn for the better without relinquishing control and realizing really I had to tell myself that I had no control at all whatsoever in order to feel better. And as time passed, I realized that my life became something. It's almost like looking back at it, I was just like, wow, that's me. I do those things because I just became more of a spectator rather than trying to constantly engage and grab a hold of things. So I went from kinesiology to massage therapy, and it really was just an experiment. Like I wanted to see if I enjoyed it, and come to figure out it was just like it clicked. Yeah. And after that, I had this. My journey isn't finished, but my school journey is so finished. I'm not going back to school ever again if I can control it. I know continuing ed is, but it's just not the same. Yeah. So then I ended up going into chiropractic school based on just a client coming up to me, telling me about this awesome school that I needed to visit.
Life University or
and their mantra or mission statement or whatever you want to call it is to do, to give, to serve, or to do, to love, to serve. Think.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Well,
regardless, it gave me the feels, and it propelled me into wanting to figure out what it was about, and I feel like it's created my journey of watching the human condition. It's made it full circle, where now I've studied the movement, I've studied the physiology, I've studied the muscles, studied the nerves, and it all started so I could understand why humans are the way they are. And then it ended up becoming a gift to myself and I guess to everybody that I encounter. Mm-hmm. And it's changed my life totally. So
when did I guess the first thing is back, I guess when you said you were 19 and your mother had cancer or your dad. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of the first time I guess that you stopped you got out of the narrative in your head, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But like really got out of it.
I think actually it thrust me further into it, because then I started worrying and I started creating these stories that if I love someone, like I'm going to lose them and I have to protect them. Like I even looked at my dog one night and was just like, oh my God, I love you so much. What's going to happen?
Right.
And it really just freaked me out because I had no idea what to do with the emotions I was feeling.
It is. So there's some comedian that has a joke about like when you buy a puppy, you're just like, oh, now we get to be sad one day. Thanks.
Pretty much. I read in a book somewhere that having a dog or an animal as a child actually helps you learn about impermanence early. It's like, wow, that's kind of messed up.
But also like necessary, I guess, because it's part of life. Life is impermanence. And if we know I guess, when did you start to say, okay, there is impermanence. How can I start to accept this? And that's a hard thing to even do now for me. But
Yeah.
I feel like we can at least start becoming aware of it. So I don't know if that happened when you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have to tell my mom to get off ladders all the time. And maybe I could trust the universe. Like, that's a hard leap to make, though.
Yeah. I feel like I made that leap when I was in AmeriCorps for 2 years.
Okay.
And I worked with kids. And I feel like they gave me an education that I could not get anyplace else. And hearing some of the
And
things that they
AmeriCorps
had-
is where you're teaching less privilege.
Well, AmeriCorps has different facets of it, just like Peace Corps. So we were tutoring, but the facility was a residential living facility for children. And a lot of them, it was their one stop before they actually went into the system, or I shouldn't say already in the system, but jail or something like that. Or they were waiting for foster families. And most of them had just been through horrific abuses throughout their life. And yeah, it was just watching them and seeing how they process things. And the only thing that they were really looking for was just consistency, which I guess that's that thought of looking for permanence again. But just really interesting.
It is. And that's a good experience to have, I guess, because I don't know if you were at the time you were trying to fix all these kids' lives, or you're like, I can't fix all these kids' lives. Or like, I don't know what was happening, but
yeah, the process was that at first where, oh, it's like the puppy again.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so cute. And then next thing you know, you're like getting thrown into a wall or something. Like these kids had they were not bad kids, but they had a lot of stuff that they needed to process and had no idea how to do it. I mean, we all remember being a teenager, but let's multiply that by somebody like hurting you in the worst way possible every single time you trust somebody.
Yep.
Before 5 years old sometimes. So it's just like, it's really interesting to get to that point. But I don't even know where I was going with that. What was the question that you asked me?
I mean, it's okay. We're talking about it now.
Okay.
We'll get back on track or whatever. But just like, we haven't talked about this before. Just like seeing the kids with all, I guess, repressed trauma, and they don't know how to process the trauma. And like you're there. I don't know if you're in the. I think we're talking about the control.
Oh, that's
and
it.
like
Yeah.
you can't control how these kids respond, how they grow, how they do anything. And I don't know if that's the first time in your life where, wow, I really feel a little powerless here.
And that was the lesson that I needed to learn, was not taking things personally.
Yeah.
And that is what every single thing that happened or didn't happen, especially as a tutor where you're coming in all like, yay, my life is great because I'm here helping some kids. And they're just not in that same space. It's kind of like when you're going on a mission trip trying to help somebody in a different country and you've all built it up and you get there and you're just like, this is their life. It's not all rainbows for them. Like, this is what they're going through and you have to meet them where they are. It's not about you. And that's a lesson that I really needed to learn, was that it's not about me. It has nothing to do with me most of the time. And you just have to sit there and sit with that.
Yeah.
And still function. And it was kind of hard for me at first. But it's definitely shaped the adult that I am now in positive ways, I hope.
I mean, if it makes you more self-aware and more mindful to where you can come to the present moment and not immediately react to things, then I would say it's done a good job. I like what you said, how it's not all about me, because a lot of the time we want to make whatever's happening about us. And before that experience, would you say, I guess, that you did used to try to say, well, that person's reacting to me this way because of something I did, therefore, again, back to the control, I need to find a way to control this. And then when you, I guess, let go of did the helping the kids help to let go of the narrative of it's not all about me, I guess?
It helped, but I still feel like I have a lot of victim qualities where if I learned early that I can't control other people, so I feel like I should control myself. So when things happen, my first thought is, well, what could you have done to avoid this? And it doesn't matter. I noticed that this is common for women in particular, not to throw out the women card, but we become victimized by a lot of things, not to say that that's a bad or good thing. It just is an is thing. And it's our first train of thought. And then we have to pick apart, why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing this? And for me, it's made the journey between blaming myself to not blaming myself shorter, but it's still there,
I
unfortunately.
think it might always be there. It's there for me. It's there for John. It's there for everybody, I think.
Or maybe it's just a feeling thing. People that feel.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
you're
nothing to do
empathic.
with sex.
So I guess, so you did the AmeriCorps, and then what happened after that? How did you, is it only like a 2-year contract or something, or? Well,
funny thing is, it was actually for 1 year, and I liked it so much that I ended up doing it for 2. And it pretty much just changed my perspective in the way I did things. I mean, I had a 7-year relationship out of it. I still have friends. My godson's mom, she was my best friend in AmeriCorps. Like it really just made a huge impact. So it normally is, I'll go back to your question. It normally is 1 year, and there are a half-time thing, but again, it all varies depending on what corps you go into. But for that corps, it was either half-time or full-time, which was a year. And then you had the choice to stay on for another year if you wanted to. And
so what made you say yes to another year if like you were having the feelings of, oh, this is like hard, or having no control is hard?
Yeah. Like
some people would run away from that.
Well, I attribute it to a lot of tribal cultures where they have I think one's called like a walkabout with the Aborigines, and the essential formula to me is that you're taken out of your comfort zone and then kind of broken down. I guess the military does this too, where they kind of break you down to the bare bones, and then you come out changed in a way. And for me, I had never experienced that in my life, and I have no desire to go into the military. So feeling that initiation process and having something challenge me in such a visceral way, maybe I just got addicted to the change, like seeing myself moving at this pace where I was just like, I don't know of anything else in life that will do this for me. Then on top of that, I'm helping other people. It just was an opportunity that I seized.
So you spent another year. Was it in Atlanta or where?
Yeah, it was in Douglasville, Georgia.
Okay.
At they're called youth villages, but when I first got there, it was Inner Harbor.
Okay.
And they're still there now.
Still there?
I go out there every so often. I don't really work with the kids as much because there's a lot of legalities.
Yeah.
You need to be with somebody and all of that stuff, which is understandable. But yeah, they're still out there.
So you spent another year there, and then what?
While I was going to AmeriCorps, I was in massage therapy school because I wanted to do grad school at some point, but I just didn't know where. And then I had that serendipitous moment with a client where they told me about life, and right after, right after AmeriCorps, I think I probably took 2 years off because I was just sick and tired of school. Yeah. And I worked for those 2 years, and then I ended up going into chiropractic school. Yeah.
You said when I guess you saw the Life University thing, it gave you the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think that was like your spirit guides like tickling you or whatever?
Well, I never really talk
Intuitive
about
hit,
angels
whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
intuition.
most definitely.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more I let my life run on that, the better it gets.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, they even had a low and high ropes course, which is what AmeriCorps had too.
We heard about that from Dr. Amy King. I don't know if you know her. She came on. And she
I don't know her
about it.
personally, but I know of her.
Yeah.
A lot of good things.
Mm-hmm. She mentioned the rope course being very emotional, or just a hard experience to go through.
Yeah. We did some training in AmeriCorps where you could train to actually be able to take kids out. And I did training for high ropes. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to take them out, but we had to climb up this pole. It's like a telephone pole, and then blindfolded.
Oh, no.
Forgot that part. And then you get to the top, and they have this thing hanging off a tree, and you have to jump and try to grab it.
Oh, no. No.
I was terrified, but I loved it so. I don't know what came over me, but this switch just happened when I turned 25, and I was just down for whatever. And next thing you know, I'm climbing a pole blindfolded, and I'm jumping into free air. But it was amazing. It was really amazing.
Did you get it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the best part. I missed that.
Yeah.
I like what you said about doing down for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that feels like more like going with the gut, following intuition. And the less that we're thinking about these decisions, the less that we're overanalyzing, the more that we're just, this feels good, I got to do it. It seems like it starts to work out more in terms of our life.
And that has translated into my work as a massage therapist as well. Instead of trying to make things make sense or blame yourself if somebody doesn't feel better after the session with you or all these other things, those experiences has shaped me into this person of like, hey, it's not about you. Don't take it personally. This person has their own journey. Like, it's got all these little leaflets from things that have happened before. And I think that that's what makes me a good practitioner, is that I'm unattached to the outcome. I'm strictly there as just a conduit for whatever needs to happen. And boy, does a lot of different things happen. So it's good to be that way, I feel.
So do you combine the chiropractic with the massage, or are they separate? I guess we could get into how the practice started. Or
yeah. Oh, well, to answer your question, yes and no. How it started was I just when did I? Well, I had one job, and then my favorite job was in Douglasville, which was a smaller company, and I worked with a bunch of ladies, and I learned so much. I was the youngest one there, and I still talk to one of the therapists to this day, and she ended up like creating her own spa, and just a lot of inspiration came out of that, and realizing that not every place is a Massage Heights or a Massage Envy, no offense, but it's got a different feel.
It's
and
very
it's
different.
Not a place for someone of my I'm too emotional and feely for a place like that. I'm trying not to talk bad about it, but I really don't enjoy that aspect of things, even like the joint. I'm sure that everything is necessary because care is necessary. But
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain clientele for each type of thing. Some people want their joints, some people want their massage envy, and some people want to go to the people they can make that human connection with. I like what you said about you had like a group that you kind of were with or like there's some other ladies that were
company you worked at before.
Yeah, did that help you a lot, I guess, in terms of having more confidence in yourself? And like, would you say for other people that are kind of starting out in entrepreneurship or whatever it is on their own, kind of having some kind of circle of people that are on the same journey?
Most definitely. I don't know whether it built me up as far as confidence goes, but I do feel like it's wonderful to have more of a vertical support system rather than horizontal, like age wise, just because the experience of somebody that's older than you, it may not always be the advice that you want or need, but just having that there, it goes back to like ancestral stuff where you just feel connected in that way, where she's been through it or he's been through it. So I feel more inclined to listen to their story. That is where the business started for me. I had a job before that, but that to me, when I was working with them, is when my career actually started as a practitioner. And I think that going to chiropractic school blended the energy aspect, the massage aspect, and the rest, I guess, all together for me. It connected a lot of dots that I knew was missing, but again, it was a leap of faith, hoping that chiropractic would connect those dots for me.
So you have your own practice now?
I do. I do not practice as a chiropractor because I'm not licensed yet. I have to take part of part 2. But I do have a massage practice in Decatur at the Center of Love and Light.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah. I share
Off Sonnet Road.
Share a room with Corey.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, it's being in that lovely little matriarchal space of just these amazing people and amazing women that they're a wealth of knowledge and they just want to see you succeed. And that, to me, I think I thrive when everyone wants to work together rather than compete.
So where did you learn all the stuff you need to know to open up your own practice?
Well, I guess I'm just kind of going along, and like I had business classes in school, at massage school and in chiropractic school. But really, I'm just kind of like picking it up as it goes, especially since I don't technically make enough money in my own practice to like do all the legal stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes it easy though, because you can just kind of like weasel your way in there and do what you need to do. And then once you pick up momentum, you start gaining stuff. So like, for instance, LLC versus all of that sole proprietorship and blah, blah, blah. You start learning that stuff as you go along and you don't have to rush into it. Yeah. A lot of my peers in school, they wanted to come out the gate running, and I just don't learn that way. I'm apprenticeship all the way. Like I like to watch people and have people help me or not help me, and I just stare at them. And be like, oh, so that's how you do that. Okay. And just like write my little notes. I'm a thief. I always have been.
You steal like an artist.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's a book called that that's pretty good.
Oh, really?
It just talks about how everybody, basically we all just take what we like from a bunch of different practitioners or areas in life, and we create our own thing. And it's unique because it's not really, we stole it, but it's like, you didn't steal their whole thing. You just took one part of it, and you took one part here, one part here, and you have a whole different thing. It's not like, does that make sense?
Yeah. What does it mean by like an artist?
Like, you have the book.
Sorry, I'm just really interested now.
The book's somewhere around. I can show it to you after. But it talks about how, like, even things like,
what's it called?
Steal like an artist.
Steal like an artist.
Like musicians, like when they come up with ideas for songs, they'll take like a little, not like the songs themselves, but the style. They took a little bit from like the Beatles and a little bit from here, and like they made their own thing, and it's unique to them. And that's the way anything's created, right?
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of my massage friends, we have a joke because we basically steal from each other. Like we trade so we can steal from each other and steal different techniques and stuff like that and make them our own. So I always feel like body work has an art to it. Okay. So I just think it's interesting that that book is called that. I'm super interested in it.
Yeah, I think I can lend it to you, honestly, if you want to read it. It's super short.
Well, you know where I work, so.
Yep. It helped me a lot because I back when I was just starting, I mean, even writing my own book, I was like, this isn't unique. Like, other people have done this before.
Yeah.
So it's not worth putting out there. Because we think if something's not unique, then it's not worth sharing. Because somebody else has done it before. But nobody's ever done it your way. Nobody's ever done it my way. Nobody's ever done it John's way. Yeah. It's all.
I like to tell myself that that's imposter syndrome. I have to name it.
Oh yeah.
So if I name it, I could just like let go of it, I guess. But like I taught a breath work class, which is really funny to explain to people that you're teaching them how to breathe. But the approach that I took was that I'm not teaching you. I'm just reminding you because you know how to do the stuff. So I called it a play shop for that specific reason. It's because I wanted you to know that I'm learning too. We're all learning. It's not that I'm coming at you with something that's totally new, but I also know a little bit more about, I know a lot about a little bit, enough to teach a class where it was helpful. And afterwards, it just turned out to be a lot of fun for everybody involved. And people were sending me messages about how they felt afterwards. And honestly, I feel like I must have like unleashed some kind of demon inside me, because the next day, like my lymph nodes were like this big in my
First
neck.
chakra.
Yeah. It's like, Jesus, I need help. I need a blessing.
Yeah, or Reiki or whatever.
Something. But yeah, it worked. Whatever it was supposed to do.
I also like that. I think John asked you, where did you learn how to do all this stuff? And it's like, well, I didn't learn it. I started diving into it. I started just playing around, not really knowing what I was doing yet. And I myself, I will stop myself in my tracks sometimes if I think I don't know what I'm doing. I need to stop. But and everyone's different, but I think a lot of us just learn by doing.
Yeah.
And not rushing into that LLC. Like I'm a sole proprietorship too. Like it's still kind of all under my name. And once I have enough clients, you upgrade. But anyone that's kind of starting their own thing, you don't have to like immediately like, right, this is the name of the company. This is my marketing strategy.
Yeah.
It's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. A lot of people do.
And different strokes for different folks, as they say. But for me, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people tell me you're not gonna be successful if you don't have a marketing plan and you don't have a online presence and all of these things. And of course, I take it into account what they're saying, and I'm sure there's truth in it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just not a big part of who I am and of my work. A lot of the times, a lot of the people that I get are based on word of mouth. And I prefer that, honestly, because I'm in a room with you for at least an hour and you're kind of nude. And if you're a creeper, I don't really want some random person off the street. I'd much rather have someone's mom come in and we all are coming into this sacred space where it's not as much of a struggle as if you just grab somebody off the street. Not to say that I'm not going to serve everyone and all populations, but it makes it easier when you're first starting out to do it that way for me.
For sure.
So, yeah.
I have a question, but it's gone.
Sorry.
Go.
I think I might have forgotten about. But there was one thing that I didn't totally refer to with what you were saying, where did I learn all this stuff?
Yeah.
And because you just brought it up and then I forgot to answer it again. Anyway.
Sole proprietorship? Or?
No, was it business
Marketing
or was it actual
just
massage?
Where did you learn to open up your own practice? Sounds like
I see. Yeah. Okay. So I did answer that then.
Yeah.
It might not have been the way you wanted.
No. You did.
John's trying to control the way you're answering questions.
I know, right?
Here.
God.
No control here. Just allowing, right?
All about allowing. Yes.
So we can talk about massage and chiropractic. Even with those, like you're given techniques and stuff to use, but you're still having to be pretty intuitive about what you're doing, right? You don't get to control.
My God. Yes.
So I don't know if when you started, you're like, this is the way massage is done, and then slowly you're starting to realize, oh, actually, I'm just feeling this out.
Well, what's so funny for me, I felt like massage school was a lot more mechanical, which I guess it makes sense because they're studying muscles, which, and in chiropractic, you're studying something that you can't really see it. You can't see the bones. You can't see the nerves. You can't see the brain. You can't see anything that you're affecting. So a lot of it does feel a little esoteric where you're kind of having to visualize you are. And in all of our classes, that was really the hardest thing for me. And I never realized the reason why it was so hard As I came in with this thing, I was trying not to get a big head, but everybody kept saying, "Oh, you're a massage therapist? You're going to do great in chiropractic school." And I'm just like, no, I'm really not doing great at all in chiropractic school. And it was all because I couldn't get past myself. I couldn't get past the massage therapy title. I couldn't get past the concrete musculature that I had been used to for so many years, and the tendons and all that stuff. I even had to energetically, and one of the doctors explained it to me perfectly, and it changed, where we started focusing more on tone and not the actual structure. What kind of tone does the structure make? You're not thinking about where the muscle innervates and all that stuff. You're just thinking about how does it feel or sound or taste or whatever, however you process it. And then she told me, you're going too deep. Try pulling your intention. Try pulling your intention out. And now try going deeper in. And she started explaining it to me that way. And I got to the point where I understood what was muscle, bone, and nerve based on the tone that it creates.
Do you know what you mean? Like, tone is hard to convey, I guess.
Tone is exactly what you think it is. Where if you think,
okay,
it's the same thing. And some people can actually hear it. But for me, I'm a very tactile person, so I can feel which one is calling for attention, because it's like a conversation.
Right, you're talking to the body.
Yeah, and once you clear yourself and you just ask, the body has a vocabulary. It's like learning Braille or learning any kind of language. If you learn how to speak the vocabulary, you can also learn how to listen to it.
And you're not even having to use kinesiology and muscle testing, you're just...
For me, I think that a lot of practitioners that use that don't really need it. They do it more so because everyone likes to know.
Right.
And I can appreciate that a lot, because even with me, like if there's something wrong with me, I've had someone test my organs with muscle testing.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would like to know what's going on when you're touching my stomach and you're barely touching it. And you're like, yep, nope. Just like, okay.
It makes it more, I guess, real for the logical brain.
Exactly. And I think I really do feel like it's more for the participant rather than the practitioner.
Because you already know. You can already like, oh, this is the cranial sacral's off here or whatever it is. Like, you just know.
And there are practitioners that need that too. So, yeah, they're a little bit more, is it left-brained?
Yeah, I mean, left mechanical is
yeah,
left brain.
yeah.
You know, right brain is like, I'm feeling into this. I'm being intuitive about it.
Yeah.
There's a good left right brain YouTube video. It just talks about how like this one's more expanded consciousness, this one's more ego, and like getting a focus on what I need to do. But you need both. Yeah.
And maybe that is the transition that I made, because man, I used to be able to think myself into a paper bag, and now I'm just like always thinking my way out of it. Like I'm always doing a back pedal. I'm just like, this isn't necessary. Like keeping yourself up at night thinking and stuff like that. I just don't do that anymore.
Did you used to have trouble sleeping, and then like you notice it's much different now?
Oh yeah, my life pretty much is different, and of course I attribute it to my diet as well, because that's very different from when I was 25.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just at peace now, and granted, not every day. Like every day is a process, but I just feel a clarity that I didn't have. And you know what? It could be just because I'm getting older, but I feel like it's also a lot of work that I've had to do. I don't think I know who I am, but I think that I'm on the right path.
I don't feel like the knowing who I am is like a logical label thing. Like I am these labels. It's more of just an inner knowing, feeling that you get familiar with.
Right.
Like, oh, that's my essence. That's my true energy. That's my true self. I'm not gonna write a paragraph about it. I feel it and I know it.
Well, it's really hard when you say not to write a paragraph about it, because when someone asks you, when you're in that mind of like, oh, I'm so detached, I am nothing, therefore I'm everything, you get in those spaces where you're just expansive, and then someone's like, well, tell me about it. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, because like to explain it, we have to come back into the focused, ego mind, which is just different from the other type of mind. And like, it's like, I need you to experience it for yourself. And then you're like, oh, you can't explain it. Not really. We can philosophize about it and talk about it a little bit, but the feeling's always going to be different than like the logical explanation.
Yeah. But I do feel like there's importance in both sides of it.
Oh yeah.
Where if you can't communicate with other people, the message gets lost, and the message is really important on how to let go or whatever the person needs or asks.
Oh yeah. And like, I would find myself getting defensive when I couldn't explain it to other people, because that part gets frustrating. So I guess we were talking about the massage and the chiropractic and how, I mean, even like the muscles, I'm always curious, like, how much is there a lot of thinking that's going on? And this actually relates to what we were talking about. Are you just do you get in the zone and you're just like, oh, an hour just passed? I mean, obviously my hands are getting tired, but.
Well, to go from start to finish, your hands, like I can flex my thumbs. Like your hands start out getting tired, but because you do work regularly, you have to, just like working out regularly, your hands don't fatigue anymore. And I've also noticed that you have to take care of your body and everything, so that doesn't fatigue as well. And there is definitely a flow state with massage that I just absolutely love. When you get that person, I call them yummy energies, where you just like, you forget that you're massaging and you and them are just having this wonderful conversation, and their skin is all buttery, and it's just like, yes, the whole entire time. And then afterwards, everybody feels like they got something out of it. But that is not always the case, and not everyone's easy.
Right.
And for me, no, it's not always, oh, an hour has passed and, oh, where'd the time go? Sometimes I do get really heady about it. And I think a lot of it is based on what the client needs. There's some people that like to talk the entire time. And some people are like, oh, what's that? Oh, what muscle's that? And like, they'll just run me through the physiology book the entire hour. We're like, oh, well, how does that work? And that's what they want.
Interesting.
Some people will cry. I had someone come in, look at me and say, I'm going to cry this whole entire time. And I just looked at her and I said, well, this is a safe and sacred space. And if that's what you need, I'm here for you. And I just left it at that. And she, sure enough, cried for the entire hour. And she wanted me to keep hands on her. So I was just like, okay. I've had somebody with PTSD before that bowed up at me while I was in the room. And I immediately took hands off and stood in the corner and waited for whatever needed to pass. Like, I knew he was going through something. Yeah. And he wasn't moving, but I could just feel him processing. And I just stood there until I could feel like, okay, he's at a place of communication. And he apologized. He's like, I'm sorry, honey. I said, it's okay. Like, what's going on? And we were able to talk through it. And that was the majority of the session, was just him telling me what he experienced. And so a lot of it is, that's why you have to come empty, because you have no idea when you let somebody into you and you go into someone else, you have no idea what's going to happen with that exchange. So, yeah.
That's fascinating, because I just figure a majority of people will just sit there and be quiet.
Well, there are people that do that, but I think it also has to do with the practitioner.
Okay.
Like the ladies that I spoke of before. Yeah. I had the one woman, she's like, I am not woo-woo. I am not woo-woo. I do not do all that stuff. I don't work with pregnant ladies. She just straight up listed it out. But now she does Watsu, which I think is hilarious, because that's one of the most, Watsu is like you holding someone in the water And just like,
Yeah.
Oh.
it's like she totally went to the other end of the spectrum, which I think is great because I
Yeah.
knew it was going to happen. I
Yeah.
knew it was. But yeah, you never know what's going to happen. And it's just a really cool adventure. I do have to say, though, that constantly getting, oh, my neck and shoulder hurts because I work at a desk for like 3 days straight. For me, is kind of like, oh my God, I need something. Somebody give me something. Like, talk to me for 30 minutes, please. I need something. Because it can get a little mundane sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's with everything, I feel.
Yeah, the head and the head and shoulders. I mean, I'm assuming that's the majority of people that come in.
Really, I'm starting to feel like it's everybody.
Is that where all the tension gets put in our bodies? Is
I don't know if it's, at first I thought it was that, but now I'm starting to realize that it's a complex of things primarily associated with breath. And that's the reason why I started to get into breath work, because we do not use our full lung capacity. And because of that, we start doing this because we're trying to get quick breath into our chest, which is fight or flight, get the oxygen to the tissues that we need it so we can run. And we're not oxygenating the rest of us. So basically, not only are we starving, as some books say, that even though we eat, we're starving, we're also like deprived of oxygen at the same time.
you don't even realize it.
Yay. Yeah.
But I get what you mean, because when you take a full breath in, your chest comes out, so your shoulders are naturally going back. Versus just the short. And I don't know when we learn to make it all short breaths. I guess it's when we move into that fight or flight, because when I worked at a corporate job, and like probably if like I had something to do and like I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, I could spend like an hour in fight or flight mode. And my body's like, it just becomes normal to be in that state of mind. So I guess when you have clients come in, if you can feel it, do you sometimes say, I maybe take deep breaths while we're doing this? Or
Well, I got to the point now where I start all of my sessions out with reconnecting. And that's kind of what I learned in chiropractic school, picking up on those disconnects throughout the body. And a lot of people's disconnects are their low back and right at their diaphragm.
And what's a disconnect?
A disconnect is, there's a lot of words for it. Kundalini, chi flow.
Okay.
It's basically those areas that have been triaged by the brain that these are not important right now. So we're just going to keep going.
So like these chakras, whatever you want to call them, get shut offline, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And it's funny because in the technique that I learned in chiropractic school, they don't really talk about chakras, but once you look at all the information, it looks exactly like the tree of life. It looks exactly like the chakras. It all just comes together. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm like, it's got many names, but it's all the same thing.
Because certain organs are associated with certain chakras, whatever you want to call it. So when you probably saw it and you're like, oh, well, that's what that is.
And primarily nerve plexuses, which I thought was really cool, and lymphatic plexuses, the places that I guess create the most heat, really, because all of that stuff is constantly working. It actually creates a lot of I don't know where I was going with that. My brain is working really weird right now. But yeah, so when there's back to the disconnects, when the disconnects happen, it's normally can be reinvigorated with breath.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what happened. Is like your belt sits there or you slouch like that. So that gets cut off. So once you open it back up.
So is it a lot of the times the emotional and like the root, or
yes.
It just depends, I guess. But
No, honestly, yes. The answer to everything is yes when it comes to the body, because we're so complex.
Yeah.
Like there's never just one side to the story. It's only what the body wants to present at what time and what the practitioner is capable of at that time. The body will not show you something you're not able to work.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It knows stuff.
Yeah.
When did you? I had this question from a while ago, but like, when did you start to like release expectations about how a session's gonna go? Because I'm assuming it didn't start out that way. Or like, when like the imposter syndrome comes in, like when does that start to wear off, or the fatigue itself almost. Like, okay, I've been doing this for a long time. Like even me working as like a psychic or whatever, the imposter syndrome is still there, and I've been doing it for 6 or 7, 8 months. Like it's still there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like the best way that I could answer that is, it's a process, just like everything. For me, I feel like when I take care of myself, that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm feeling really nervous about something and that starts creeping up, if I meditate like what we did earlier, or if I just let go and relax, it goes away. So I really feel like self-care is a big correlation with that, where if you're tired, you're worn out, like I know some days I'll come into work and I'll be like, man, I wish somebody wouldn't be on time today so I don't have to give them the full hour. Like I'm just having all these things come up. I'm just like, this doesn't sound like me. And it probably means that I need some time off. Yeah. So I'll listen to that and I'll take some time off, stuff like that. So I feel like it's always going to happen.
Yeah. And it's just like however much energy you're willing to give to it is how long I guess it'll persist.
I don't know. For me, it's however long it takes for me to actually handle my business, which is myself, and let that stuff go.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess how long have you been practicing now?
Well,
or how long have you had your practice?
8. Well, I've only had my practice for a few months. I just graduated school in September. Okay. And I was not about to open a practice while in school. So, yeah, but I've been a massage therapist for 8 years, and I actually have been studying the human body for over 12 years, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I don't think that there's anything in my life that I've really like dedicated that much time to. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Go me.
That is cool.
That is new.
I don't think you should have to listen to the imposter syndrome anymore. 12 years of expertise.
I guess. Well, I mean, it helps me when pricing myself, which is really difficult.
That's the hardest part.
But it still doesn't help with the imposter syndrome because there's so much to learn, and there will always be so much to learn. So it's hard not to feel like somebody's always better, or somebody can talk better or something like that.
Yeah. Comparing myself is so fun.
It's the destroyer of happiness. That's what that is.
Somebody told me comparison's the thief of joy. And I'm like,
yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. I agree.
If you want to take a moment away and like destroy your happiness in it, just be like, well, this person probably would feel better here, or whatever it is. The brain just loves to do stuff like that.
I feel like it's not so much the brain, it's us. Like there's people that don't do that. Therefore, there's a brighter side to thoughts. And I'm just looking for that constantly on how to let go of all that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can probably start winding down.
Okay.
But normally we'll kind of close out with just kind of a overarching message of like, you know, we don't wake up and have this magically happen. Like this takes a long time, and just, you know, when we share something with the listeners at the end, we just kind of want to convey that point, and with whatever your personal tone is. Pressure, so much pressure.
You're on the spot.
I know.
But also we can just start out with the fact, like, you can share like where can we find you, what's your website and stuff.
Okay. Well, I don't have a website, at least not one that I would like to share. But I am on Instagram, and that would be, what is my Instagram?
It's like
Rooks Nest.
Rooks Nest.
Rooks Nest, yeah. And that's the name of my company, which is Rooks Nest Massage and Body Works. You can find me on Facebook which is at Jeen Rooks, which is Jeen, because my dad wanted to make my life difficult. Rooks, Rooks.
Gave you good genes.
I guess. I would like to think so. And I feel like those are the only 2 spaces. You can always reach me by email if you have any questions or comments, or you want to just chat. And that would be rooksnest8, ROOKSNEST.
We'll put in the comments.
8. Okay.
Rooksnest8
at Gmail. Yeah.
And they can book appointments with you that way.
Yeah, I use Square, so you'll get sent that, but I prefer having an email first just so we can say hi to each other.
Yeah. And your
Yeah.
office is in Decatur, you said?
It is,
All
yeah.
right.
It's by appointment only, but it's at the Center for Love and Light
It's
and
off
Suite
Sonolite
10.
Road.
Yeah, off Sonolite, over by the Kroger and Pig and Chick.
There's a good vegan pizza place over there too. or
Oh, I didn't
something.
know that.
Yeah, it's next to the Kroger.
Okay.
But yeah, Center for Love and Light is awesome. There's a lot of other events there too, with
yeah.
Jamie Butler and stuff. If anybody is curious about that, just Google Center for Love and Light, and can you find all the practitioners there?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. But yeah, we usually do this for about an hour. We're just gonna chat and like, just kind of like say something. You can just say bye if you want to.
Well, the only thing that I like, if I was a fortune cookie, that's what I'm trying to channel.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I was a fortune cookie, and there would be one thing, it sounds really corny, but I would want to tell people to match the tone of life, just because everything has a tone. Music, people, whatever you touch, like this table has a tone. So just flowing with that and letting go, I just feel like that's beautiful to me. So there's that.
That's a
Yeah.
great way to end it then.
That is a good one because life has a pretty spectacular tone once you tap into it.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat. Okay.
Beat. Pun intended.
That one was not intended.
That wasn't.
I'm glad you noticed it though. That makes me real happy. But yeah, thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
for
on and
coming on,
sharing.
yeah.
Thank
Great
you.
story, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate the invite.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's these are the stories that can, I don't know if it touches one person or three people or zero, whatever. I mean, we're still here, but regardless, like it can make movement in other people's lives, and that's why we keep doing this because I think it's really important to continue that kind of conversation.
Yeah. It's awesome what you guys do. I really enjoy your podcast.
Thank you.
Cool beans, cool garbanzo beans. Yeah, I've changed it up.
Yeah, that's your thing today.
Nobody says that. All right. Well,
Free mind.
Anything to say before we go? No. Okay. Free mind's out. Outsies. Outro.